In this video, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my meal prep. I rarely fry things in oil, but for liver and onions, you just have to. Stop right there. You don't have to eat liver. You could be making veal parm. You could be making fried chicken. I don't recommend it often if you're in a calorie deficit because that oil adds up, but this is the only way I can stomach liver. So anyway, but more so than giving you a recipe for something gross that you're never going to eat, I just want you to see the process by which I log everything. So how the heck do I know how many calories are in each serving when I just drizzled in a bunch of oil and threw in a bunch of onions and used a random weight of liver and da-da-da-da. I like to scribble everything down on a notepad and then log it in later. So liver and onions, today's date. First I'm gonna weigh my raw liver. Pretend I'm not making liver. It's not about the liver, guys. It's about how I measure and weigh everything. So first, I've patted all the liver dry because that's just what you gotta do when you make it. Just like you're frying chicken cutlets. There's a lot more calorie-friendly ways to make chicken, and you don't need to fry chicken because it's not gross like liver. But all right, so I have my scale tared, and I'm gonna weigh all of my raw liver. So I get a weight and grams of how much liver I'm working with here. All right, so we have 1,666 grams of liver. I'm gonna scribble that down. Next up, I'm gonna weigh the onion. So this is about 1.5 medium onions. The weight on 1.5 onions can vary dramatically, and why on earth would you ever want to shove these into a cup? Tedious. 392 grams of onion. Come over here. 392. I always put the date on my recipe as part of the title when I put it into the app because my recipe is going to change from time to time, and one batch might have more or less calories than the other. All right, now we're going to heat up some oil in a pan. Here's how we measure the oil. I have to use my big plug-in scale because that little battery operated one will time out, but I'm going to use a large enough quantity of this oil that it'll be accurate enough. Put the bottle on 0. Now I'm just going to drizzle as needed, and whatever it says minus is how much oil I used. So let's go put some in the pan. When you're making liver and onions, you just have to suck it up and make it calorie dense, or it's not going to be good at all. So what would you guess that was? Most people would say that was probably like 100 calories worth of oil or something like that. No, that was probably over 200 calories worth, and it's really not that much. Just a little drizzle. Let's go see what it really is. That was 20 grams of oil. As you can see, 15 mils and grams are the same. 15 would have been 130, so 20 will be 1.25. So okay, not quite 200 calories, but still 150-ish. Actually 162.5 calories to be exact. This is not a lot of oil. Gonna heat it up, throw in my onions, da-da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, I am seasoning these. I put some smoked salt and some onion powder, and I'm gonna put a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. Have sucked up all the oil. I want to reiterate that this is not how I would cook anything else except for liver. It's a very calorie dense way, and I just do it because liver is gross unless you fry it with oil. Don't do this for all of your protein. So I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to add a little more oil in the pan and get my liver started. I needed to use my scale for something else, so I put the first 20 grams down, and then we'll see what we need for this next batch. Bring it over here, one more drizzle. Aiming for about, like 20 grams or so. Let that heat up. Let's measure it. Dun, 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 dun. That was 16. All right, so I'm gonna write that down. We'll just keep going as we cook. This is all fried up, so I'm just gonna remove it from the pan. Here we go again. I scrubbed this pan with some wrinkled aluminum foil. Wiped it with a paper towel. I hate that up and just do batch to batch to batch. And with each batch, I'm gonna write down how much oil I used until it's all done. So I finished cooking all the liver, put it in the fridge overnight. Now I'm just gonna slice it up and I'm gonna show you how I portion it out and how I calculate the calories. Okay, so it didn't fit in the bowl. I got a bunch of liquid that seeped out into the onions. I got some over here. I'm gonna put this all back in this big bowl, mix it up good, and get the total weight of that. That's what's gonna be my total cooked recipe total. Now, if you don't have two of the same bowl, you're gonna wanna know the weight of your bowl so you can subtract it. Wait, was that on there? So for instance, okay, I know this is 1288 grams. So I could do it this way. I could go, okay, my total recipe is 2982 minus 1288 for the bowl. But since I have two of them, I don't even need to break out the calculator. I'm just gonna go 0. And now, bam, the total weight of my recipe, onions, oil, liver, minus the water that cooked down from it, total weight, 1694. Just want to make this point of why it's important to get your total cooked weight at the end after you cook it, because the whole batch now weighs 1694, but if you were to add the weight of the liver before I cooked it, the weight of the fresh raw onion, and the weight of all the oil, you'd have 2,128 grams. So where'd the rest go? It evaporated. So we have to account for it being more calorie dense now with that water having been evaporated. It's kind of the difference between, 1 pound of fresh raw beef versus 1 pound of beef jerky. Obviously, because it's dehydrated, the beef jerky is going to weigh, it's going to have much more calories pound for pound. So anyway, this equates for all that without you having to think of it or do any math. Just know that we're going to log in our fresh weight that we used, and then at the end we're going to add in our cooked weight. Currently, MyFitnessPal doesn't have a way to do this, but there is a workaround I can show you. So you can ask me at our next session. The way I portion it out is I throw the plastic bag on the scale and I put the liver in the bag. This handful came out to 136. I could take a little out. Now it's 124. Okay, perfect. I could have left it in there. It doesn't matter because I'll show you how I log it when it's all said and done. Here are all my portions. Now listen, you don't have to evenly measure them all out. You could have just taken a handful and put it in the bags until they were all portioned out to a size that you thought would be a good snack. So you didn't even have to do that stuff. All you really had to do was portion it out, because here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna freeze these. And then the night before I go to work, I'm gonna go shopping in my freezer and I'm gonna pull one out. It doesn't matter if they're all the same, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slap it on the scale. 130, okay, perfect. So then I'll log 130 grams. I'll show you what that looks like. Go to my diary. I'm gonna hit add, this will be one of my mini meals, add a food. And I'm going to search for liver. I can search under custom, it's a little faster. See, I have all these different batches because every batch is a little different. I use more or less oil, more or less liver, more or less onion, da 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 da. I'm looking for June 7th, and I'm going to have 130 grams. Add to diary. Now, one of my little bags was short. Zip on over here again. So one of my little bags at the end of the batches, it was only 104 grams. Doesn't matter, because let's log that. So it was 232 calories for the bigger one. Let's log in 106 grams instead. Now it's only 189 calories. So it's dead on accurate. If you want to have more or less, there's a little bit in one bag, more in the other bag, doesn't matter. Just a side note, I keep all my little portioned sandwich bags in a bigger freezer bag just for extra freezer burn protection. And if you really are gonna make liver, I suggest you eat it cold. I eat it cold right out of the bag. The more you heat it, the more livery it tastes. Stay tuned for another fun calorie counting session with me coming soon.